Welcome back to Black Woman Be Whole podcast. We are your hosts, Ednesha, Marquia, and Kim, and we are Black women working on being whole. So I can't believe it. We are on episode 4. And so I'm super excited today to talk about your origin story. But before we get to that, I just want to kind of shout out my ladies and ask y'all, so what are y'all working on this week? I'm working on communicating better, right? Because I realized that I've been in the house for a couple of months. I'm a little irritated. I'm a little agitated, more than normal. So I'm working on communicating better with the people in my life. What are you working on, Kim?
I'm working on being more patient. I realize that I have less patience as a result of, what's going on with the pandemic. I want to know what's going on now. I want it now. And sometimes I'm not thinking about what other people are doing, and my expectations and managing that through patience are what I'm trying to work on now. What about you, Marquia?
Um, I would say along the same vein of patience, but definitely balance, right? With so many things going on and having the pandemic kind of take away a lot of outside, I've been definitely consuming myself in work and my plate is getting kind of full. So I'm trying to balance it out and not get frustrated with myself as well as others as I work through this new version of normal, not to be cliche.
So, Kim, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about origin story and what we mean by that and what we're talking about today?
I think that an origin story is basically the the story that makes up who you are, like your past, your history, the things that are relevant for you that tell your story, right? It's just as simple as that. Like the people, as we talk about with our methodology, the people, the labels, the life events, the things that have impacted us and that we use to tell our story. I mean, just in a nutshell, that simple.
Okay. So, when you tell the story of who you are, Kim, why don't you start it off? Who are the people that you generally include in that when you talk about you?
Well, it's interesting because when I think about the people who have impacted me, it's just so many because I grew up in a big family. So there were a lot of people in my life, like my family, my friends, my family's friends. Just to, just give an example, someone that was just really important to me was my godfather when I was younger. And he was the numbers man, and he ran the numbers in Harlem and all over the Bronx because that's what he did, but he really was so impactful in my life. And my mother met him at a bar that she worked at. And so he, they used to date and then he became my godfather. So I'm not sure what happened there, but I'm really happy that he did. My godfather flopped. So, he's very relevant and he's like a family, there's lots of family stories about him. So I think for me that was one of the people that really impacted my life. And of course, my family, my mother and her sisters, my aunts were really impactful for me. And I learned a lot about, Black womanhood, what to do, what not to do from them as well.
So, Kim, I just got to interject for a second. There was a Flap in my life.
Flop.
My
His name was
Flap.
Flop.
I think it's the same guy because he was the number guy. But we'll have to talk about
Did
that
he wait?
another time
Did he
in
drink old
Harlem.
granddad and he drove around in a Cadillac? And
I don't know,
and he
but
talked like this, shawty.
the next time you see my mother, I need y'all to talk about it because there was somebody in my mom's life, the same name, and he was also the number man. So I'm gonna need us to talk later about that. But finish that. I
Yo,
just had to stop you for a second.
big tunes. What? Look at us discovering, oh, I
You
love
can't
it.
make this stuff up. You just can't.
I don't even know why. Like, I was not going to mention him, but I really was thinking about this. And he was so formative to my life. Like, when I was going through stuff with people, like, he always sided with me. Like, when I was going through shit with my mother, Shorty, leave her alone. Because my mother's short 5'1", so he called her Shorty. But it just was like a thing where he was really like, he gave me money when I needed it. He came to my graduation. He was the man whose arms I jumped in at my college graduation. Like, he
Wow.
surprised me and he showed up. And his girlfriend, he brought his girlfriend. His girlfriend told him to come to my college graduation. So, and it was weird because my real dad was there. And I was like, I don't know that nigga. Because he was like not in my life. I was like, that's my dad. Oh shit, Flop. Like, I came off the stage and he was standing right there and I ran and I jumped in his arms. This is wild. We must talk.
It's so interesting how these people, you know, make their way into our story. And it just sounds like he was kind of that, maybe that male figure that you needed. And so that's why he is such a big part of your story now when you
Yeah,
think
he
back.
is. He was. He definitely was. This is so weird. Why? You know what? I don't like doing stuff like this. This is bringing things up. I don't know. We may need to reevaluate what we're doing right now because what's going on here?
Well,
Accessing past memories.
we're trying to talk about being whole, right? So
Yeah.
maybe some of this stuff needs to come up
Ooh.
when we least expect it to
Yeah.
come up. So we're gonna give you a minute to sit with some of those memories,
Got to
and we're gonna
process.
yeah we're gonna move it on to Marquia, and I'll go last. So when you tell your story, Marquia, who are the people that you include?
I would say my parents and my grandmas. Like that's really the crux of me, especially my grandma that passed away in 2008. Like that was my girl. And in the short amount of time that we were together, I guess we're getting there with the emotions and feels early today. I lost my grandma when I was 20. So in the 20 years I had her, it was just nice to have this person that saw me as a whole person, always believed in me, and was always just like my cheerleader. And even all these years later, she passed away in '08. It's still like a very big hole and still trying to figure out like who I am as an adult, right? Like I don't have this person to lean on and, be like, hey, Graham, like, what do you think? Or like, what do you feel about this? Am I doing this right? So definitely mom and dad, and then Grandma Farmer and Grandma Jenkins, definitely.
Shout out to grandmas.
Yes,
Oh,
grandmas are the best people on the face of the earth. Sorry, grandpas. Didn't have a close relationship with mine, but like it's always dope to just have that person that is always on the sidelines. Like, I got you. Don't worry about it. You're not crazy.
And they give you $5. You like, that's not gonna do
Right.
nothing, but I appreciate it.
out they bra.
Right. Or like she would always like my grandma like spoiled me bad. Like I'm a picky eater. As you both know, we've gone to dinner together. So like I don't like ham, right? And she would make ham on Sunday, but she was like, I know you don't eat ham, so I made you some fried chicken. Like it was always just like I would have a separate meal within the meal. She's like, I know you don't eat this, but I made you this. So forever grateful to that. That's probably why I'm so picky when I go out because I'm just like used to being accommodated. So blame my grandma.
Grandma, thanks for spoiling Marquia. We love it. Love it.
I mean, it's so interesting because I think grandmas play such an intricate role in the Black community, right? Because they are such the matriarchs of our family. And for some of us, like we grow up with them. Like for me, my grandma lived with us. Like
Mhm.
until I was in high school, we all lived together. My mom, my father, the kids, my grandma, everybody. And so she was everything to me. Like I lived with her until I was up until like high school. And I remember watching the stories with her, like, the day that you don't go to school for whatever reason, you had that little cough. And so they was like, all right, you can stay home. I watched stories with her. The first time I ever tasted coffee was with her. I didn't love it, but I was like, all right, grandma, I'll check it out with you a little bit. But what I loved about her is she was just kind of like a no nonsense kind of woman. Like, so I kind of think I get my grit from her and like my voice. Like she made it okay to have a voice even when I was younger. She allowed me to have a voice in a household. And when you're one of 7 children, it's hard to have a voice. So she kind of allowed me to do that. And I appreciate it. I also think my mom is kind of huge. Um, my mom is like super generous. Like whoever meets my mom is like, wow, your mom is so nice. She's super giving and nurturing. And I remember when I was little, like she would always give money to homeless people. We would always have a rack of people on our couch because somebody might have needed somewhere to stay. And she was like, okay, you can stay with us for a couple of days. And I think I remember when I was little, I used to sleep on the couch. So I'm like, Ma, you can't just be giving up my bed. Like this don't work.
It's 7 of
Um,
us. What you doing?
So I gotta sleep on the floor.
but she was like,
Okay.
you're getting bed with me and daddy. It's just for a couple of days. Like that will always be the thing. So I feel like I was so fortunate to kind of have that. I learned how to be giving and very loving to people. And whenever I think about my story, I got to give a shout out to my siblings. Like when you got 6 siblings, it's a big deal. Like they taught me how to love. to be a friend. They were my first friends, right? My brother, who's 2 years older than me, I was about to give my age up. I think everybody know. Okay, so for my 40th birthday,
I told on
my
us. Come on out. We caught. We caught. Come
caught out the bushes. They got us. For my 40th birthday, my father has other children. So my oldest sister from my dad's side, she sent me a photo of me on my first birthday. I had never seen it. Like my cake, and me and my brother was sitting together, and it made me like so emotional because I was like, damn, that was my first friend. We're only 2 years apart. And so I feel like because of them, I can't help but not to be selfish, y'all. Because I had to learn how to share with so many other people so early. I think they taught me how to have fun. And when I also think about it, you better be witty if you're gonna be around 7 people, 6 other people, right? Like, cause if you don't know how to snap back, cause somebody gonna snap on you. And I never forget, guys, when I was younger, they used to be like A's for Apple, J's for Jacks. My nickname is Woody. They was like, Woody don't got no hair in the back. Sorry to say it, but it's a fact. She need to use more grease in the back. Like it was
bad. Have you been
You better be
victimized by
ready.
your siblings?
Lots of people have. But no, I think that, when that reminds me, because I come from a really large family too, and we always talk about that. I mean, my siblings were my cousins. I mean, lots of people grew up with cousins, and they, like, my cousin was a year younger than me. And so we were raised together. Like, they dressed us alike. My cousin Toogie. We went to the same schools my whole educational career through high school. Like, I would go in, and then a year later she would come to the school. So we always were raised together. Like, and so there were sets of cousins raised together as like siblings, because you had to have someone to grow up with. So I think that sharing thing was definitely relevant for my family too, in terms of values, because growing up in the projects in the Bronx, my aunt had that big ass pot with just rice and like lima beans or whatever, and people would come to the house and eat. And so, you always want to go where all the fun is, where you think the fun is, and that was my cousins across the courtyard in Twin Parks. And so, having a big family, you really do get to see a lot of different personalities, and I think that that's for me, like, communication and understanding different personalities. Like, I've experienced so many different people at a young age, right? So I haven't seen someone new as an adult because I'm like, oh, that's my cousin, or like, that's my cousin's friend. Like, that mama is crazy. I know I've seen that before because we done grew up with crazy people, or we grew up with, someone who was about the money, or somebody who grew up like, full disclosure, drug dealing or something. Like, I've seen it all. So it's not like a new person that I'm meeting, because I think people basically have the same kind of personalities, especially if you come from a particular upbringing. Like, it's not going to be anything different.
So when you talk about that, like what are the values or the things that they taught you? Like what did they model for you that kind of stays with you today?
I think that being fierce, I mean, I have a very dominant, strong personality. And I think that that was modeled for me because they just let me be like, just do whatever you want. Like, I was like a latchkey kid, like, go out and do whatever. It was the 80s, parents weren't like watching you or hovering over you. It was just kind of like, go out and do whatever you need to do, because there's nobody, there weren't a lot of adults present. I think so. The kids was running amok. Like, we were just doing our thing. Somebody fed us and told us when to go to bed. And that was pretty much it. And it was like, go on and figure it out. And so I think my sense of independence has been really developed in that upbringing. My love of travel came from my mother, actually. Like, when I was young, we went down south every summer. We did a cross country trip once. We went to Canada. It's also the reason why I don't like driving, because 14-hour drives to South Carolina, like, that was terrible. We had the fried chicken, and I had my books. You put the chicken in the little aluminum foil with the paper towel.
So Kim, not only do you not like to be in the car while driving, you don't like to drive. Okay. So Marquia, I gotta tell you that we've been friends almost 20 years, and Kim refuses to learn how to drive. And so it's 3 of us that hang out most of the time, and I'm always a designated driver, and I'm over that shit. And I told her this last year, and there was no compassion, because she was like, yeah, I'm not gonna learn. And I was like, but we still riding together, right? Like, I felt like maybe you shouldn't be in the car no more, dude. For real. Like, if you refuse to learn how to drive.
But hold on, our other friend has the license and you don't make her drive.
She don't know how to drive.
How you got a
Why?
license and don't know how to drive?
Everyone
trying to
can't
keep
drive with the
you
license,
Confused.
safe.
girl.
Thank you, Marquia. Please
Have you
second
been to
that
New
motion.
Jersey? No shade to the state of New Jersey, but have you driven through New Jersey before, girl? If you ever wanted to know what it was like to live in a PS5 game, it's New Jersey. That's what it is. Need for Speed in real life, girl. Whew. Mm-mm.
Yes, so maybe that is where it comes from. Like I was always in the the back seat of the van or the passenger seat. So yeah, I mean, and I think also like my love of music comes from my cousin Tracy. She was very, she watched me all the time. Like she was like a secondary mother, and she just had this very eclectic sense of music, and so I think I got that from her. And so this is interesting when I'm starting to think about things now and who it came from, or
Mhm.
the people, all of them. So I also have a weird thing where I have a very good rapport with older people, because growing up, my mother and my aunt worked at a bar. My mother had a second job at a bar. My aunt worked at a bar, and it was an illegal bar, so it would move around. So
It's like a pop-up shop.
yeah, it was. It was weird, but it moved around in like this, like 2 blocks or 3 blocks in Harlem. It was called Stokes. And when my cousins couldn't babysit me because they were off doing something, I would have to go and sit in this bar. So I grew up there. Ednesha, we had my graduation party there. Do you remember going to the
I do
bar?
remember. Yes, I do. We were not
By
20.
the
We were
time
21. We were 20. I'm sorry. We were 21.
Right. Yeah, but it just was like that was my family. Like I would go there, they would give me money, My mother would like, get you dressed up, gonna give you some money. The old people want to see you. Okay, I'm coming to get my money. So they sent me a bunch of money off to college, but I love hanging around old people because that's how I grew up. They would sit me in the corner and I would just be there like overnight because there was nobody to watch me. So they would come in, talk to me. But I saw some things now, like some
You was a
old
little
people getting
mature.
drunk got freaky. I was like, what am I looking at? I didn't know how to process it. I didn't know who to talk to. So I got some things in my head that I don't know what to do.
It had traumatized you.
Yeah.
You're a little
So
too mature for your age.
exactly. But I feel like I have a rapport with older people because of that, because I just knew so many of them. Like, and then my mother, the sad part is like, as I got older, my mother would be like, remember Mr. Jackie? And I'm like, yeah. She'd be like, he died. I'm like, no, not Mr. Jackie, who would do magic tricks and give me money. Damn, Mr. Jackie. So it was a lot of that.
You
And so
know when they ask you, do you remember? Because they about to tell you they died. It's
that's
like a
it.
thing. I don't know why.
I don't know. Do you have that experience, Marquia or Anisha? Like, just like,
I do.
Like, you remember so and so? Yeah. Oh, they died. You like, wait, well, why? Why are we bringing up memories then? We could have led with, Mr. So and so passed away. We could just started there. Why I'm gonna get happy, have these happy moments, and now I'm sad. You build me up to break me down. That's not right.
That's wild. They do that. Why are you doing that? You gotta prep me. Yeah, I remember him. Thank you for
Right,
accessing
let you
this
tell a
wonderful
story.
memory. They gone. Oh my God. What do you mean they gone?
Let you start tell a story about that one time. They'd be like, yeah, they died. Oh, okay.
Like, what? Why do we do that? Why do we do that? Black people, stop doing that.
Be better.
So Marquia, what values were taught to you or were modeled for you?
My dad definitely taught me a lot about one of his favorite things was, if all else fails, follow instructions, right? So when we come to doing
That's
homework,
different.
it hits different when you trying to get help. And he's like, if you just read the paper, you wouldn't have these questions.
Marquia had 5 apples. You're like,
No.
wait, what?
Literally. If Johnny had 6 damn apples.
That's some lazy parenting. Read the directions. Don't ask me nothing.
So he would try, but then he's like, okay, but if we read the instructions, like, what are we going to get from that? So I do hold on to that a lot. And I do struggle with people that do not read instructions for that reason. I have a very strong will to be resourceful, as you both know. That also came from my dad being like, we have a computer right there. We have a dictionary right there. Look it up. So I've learned to be very resourceful and able to find things on my own, thanks to my dad. But he also is very big on like making sure that his daughters were not dependent upon anybody for anything. Like he was definitely like, don't be dependent on no man. Like you see that I don't have your mama waiting on me hand and foot. So I'll be damned if you about to be waiting on some nigga hand and foot.
Shout out to Pops.
Like
not raising you to be a pick me. Okay.
Listen, there was this one situation. We were at a party, I think somebody's graduation party in the park, and this boy asked me to put ketchup on his hamburger. So again, y'all know I'm picky, right? I don't eat ketchup. So my dad saw me get this hamburger and put ketchup on it. And he came over and was like, who is that for?
You know it wasn't for you.
And he was like, I was like, oh, it's for Leonard. And he went over and was like, excuse me. You can put your own ketchup on your hamburger. My daughter is not here for that.
Yes, daddy.
Come through, Dad. Come through.
Yeah, the boy Leonard, like daddy definitely was like, nope. He's like, I knew it wasn't for you because you don't eat ketchup. I was like, wait, okay. Why you see it from across the park? But all right. So that is daddy. Mommy, very compassionate, very kind. That's where I get my kind ways from. So people that know me well will tell you that I'm very big on showing up for the people I care about. I try to do my best to be as present as possible, check in, make sure people are good. And again, back to the Grams, my grandma, my mom's side, definitely very kind. Actually, it's her birthday today. So we spoke this morning.
Happy birthday, Grandma.
She turned 82. Right. So, it's interesting because generationally it's different. Like I was like, Grandma, I'm tired. And she was like, but the Lord has you. And I was like, but girl, I'm still tired. Grandma, I'm tired.
Are you listening, Grandma? Are you listening?
She's like, go pray about it, baby. Like,
she is very much a pray about it. And I appreciate it, like, because it definitely does force you to think about like gratitude and stuff in that way. But in the moment, sometimes you just don't want to hear that.
But that's that real Black girl shit. Like that's that like Grandma told me to pray about it. And you're like, I'm gonna need something a little bit more, Grandma, but thanks.
Right. Thank you so much. Love you.
That is that real Black girl shit.
And then my other grandma that passed away, definitely my love of cooking. That was her jam, holidays, she was making all the food. And also just, I don't know, like that was my homie. So it's just a lot of things. I guess like she's a big push on like making sure I do something good and leave a mark on this world, just because I want to make sure that she's proud, even though she can't like physically tell me, but like I really, really want to like make her proud because I know that she invested a lot in me. So
wow.
Yeah, that was my buddy.
That's beautiful. I think we all need those people in our lives, and sometimes that might not be our parents, and that's okay because sometimes parents and children don't have the best relationships because of expectations, and I think they're too close, right? And so it's hard to be considered an adult sometimes with a parent. Like they still see you as that little kid, or when you've done that thing that sort of painted you in a negative light, or that wasn't they expected you to do. And so it's hard to get out from under that. And having different family members, provide that for you is super important because it helps to kind of balance out and give you a different perspective on who you are, who you can be, and other kind of values you can, bring to yourself.
It's interesting because they play such a big role because they're so close to you generally, right? Like, because when I think about like my older sister, I think we're some years apart, more than 5. We're some years apart. So, but I remember learning, well, not remember, but I learned like freedom and independence from her, like seeing her go out into the world and kind of like be successful and do all the things that she wanted to do and travel and stuff like that. I kind of learned that independence. I was just thinking about my grandma. She was super direct. Like my grandma was that grandma that like she had her little house coat that she would wear around the house, but she also drank like VO, which is like Seagram's VO, which is like a brown liquor. So like she was very direct. She was very authentic. And so I learned how to be very authentic and direct from her. And I was just thinking about my siblings. I learned how to be petty, y'all. Like there's a petty part of me in there. But
yes.
when you yes. When you got all these people in your life that they'll come for you. They'll come for you. And it's so funny, Marquia, because before this, I was telling Kim that my sister, what she's having a milestone birthday. I'm gonna leave it at that because she might get mad if I say anything more. And she said, Ednesha, y'all should roast her. Y'all should do a family roast. So this is the type of family I come from. So they be saying some outright mean stuff sometimes. So I have learned how to be petty. Like I'm very connected to them. They are amazing, but they really taught me how to be petty. I didn't mention my dad earlier, and I'm such a daddy's girl, y'all. Like it's bad. Like I'm a daddy's girl all day. But what I learned from him was that I learned how to be compassionate. Because what I can say is my whole life, my dad seemed to like not always have it together. Like he was always trying to get right, like always. And so I learned how to have so much compassion for him and not be angry at him for not having it together, but being compassionate because he was always trying. He was also always very loving, but he just couldn't get his shit together to save his life. And so I
It's
really
okay,
did.
buddy boy.
I learned to
Still love
be
him.
compassionate now,
You
right? I
still
love
love him.
and he still don't got that together yet. Still,
I think
And
as men in generally don't have it together, and not all men. Please don't come on here with that. But I feel like that's a thing because men don't have a lot the responsibility that women have for the most part. And I think it has to do with duty and responsibilities sometimes.
But I think that that's also a good point that you brought up, Anisha, about like, the compassion, right? It's like as you get older, you start to realize that like your parents are just people. So like as we're talking about origin stories, right? They're still living out and writing their story and they're trying to include us in it and do the best that they can. So they're still people. So their mistakes or missteps or, interesting choices, however you want to frame it, play a part in how we write our stories, right? So it's just really interesting. And, the older you get, you just have to understand that you have to be compassionate and understand that this is a whole person. And as I go through life at 33 now and just being like, wow, like at 33, my mom had 3 kids. I don't know how I would do that. Like she like it was her and my dad. They had 3 children and like I'm just like children are loud. And like I like sleep and I don't know how I could do it with one, let alone 3. So it gives you a different perspective when you look at it, now.
it definitely does. When I look at my mom, I'm like, I always, but I've asked, like, why'd you have all these kids? Like, what was y'all thinking about? And she would be like, oh, your grandma, like, she helped us. And Kim, I have to rival your, like, being in the bar. My mother's water broke when she was in a bar. I was almost born in the bar. She made it to the hospital, but I was like, Mom, what was you doing? She was like, it was the 70s. We were hanging out. Like, I wasn't drinking. We was just hanging out. That's what you did back then.
That was the
I'm like,
spot.
oh, okay, Mom. So your water broke at the
Listen, Terry might have been at Stokes. I don't know. We need to investigate this because I really that place was very formative for me. Everything. Thanksgiving. They would play poker in the back. They would have high stakes card games, like all sorts of stuff. Like, this is wow, what's going on here? I love being there because it was like I just get to observe and see shit like, oh, okay. Mr. Freddie with the Jerry curl wilding out over there. He done drank too much brown liquor. Now he talking shit. I learned how to curse some old people, listening to them get all riled up. That's why I learned how to
So do you
curse.
guys think that these people still impact you in some ways today? Like what ways can you guys see that like, oh, I got this from this one and I'm still holding on to this piece of me. Like it's still in me.
Every day. There are things that I say and do, and I'm like, oh my God, I am Mark, or oh my God, I'm Jackie. Like, what is happening? Like, and I'll call my dad and be like, Daddy, I was saying this to one of my students, and I was like, oh my goodness, I sound just like you. Like, literally, I will tell people, like, did you read the instructions? And I'm just like, oh no. Daddy just jumped out.
You just passing that on. That's how generational things happen. Right
But
there.
everyone will be well equipped to understand what's going on if they take the time to read first and then ask questions afterwards.
One thing I didn't talk about was my relationship with my mother. And I think I'm and just to be okay with it, I mean, my mother and I have not had the best relationship. And I think, I'm the girl, she's got 2 boys, bookended. oldest is a boy, youngest is a boy. So, just that whole how Black girls are, you know, women, what do they say? Mothers raise their daughters and love their sons. So I was
Mm-hmm.
definitely raised. And so I think that does not negate that sometimes I show up for Beverly in ways that cannot be good. Like I was telling Anisha the other night that when I was partnered, um, I got like really angry and I just got verbally abusive with him. And he was like, "You're just like your mother." And when
Mm.
I tell you that sent me into blackout rage, like I was wilding out. Like, okay, Kim, maybe you should listen to that because that sent you into like a state. This was early on in like my 20s, like done a lot of work since then. But I think for me sometimes the mother-daughter relationship hasn't been the best. And you try so hard sometimes to get away from that thing that you think you don't want to be without realizing that it's still there because when we talk about the conditioning that the people like, if it's like marketing, right? Like you keep experiencing it and then you just unconsciously sort of internalize it. So that's how some of those things get passed on to you because you've grown up with it so long, it just gets imprinted on your brain and in your mind that this is the way I'm supposed to behave because this is what I see.
I mean, I've known you since you were like really really seriously trying to figure out who you are, right? Like, I mean, we met in high school, but we became real friends in college, and I think those college years are when you really trying to figure out, like, you really have no idea. And I've seen your growth through the years, and I appreciate it, and I know the work that you've had to do, and I appreciate it. And I'm someone who I've been in therapy 4 years, right? Like, so I've always been trying to work on me, and I still am. So I think that when I think about what part of me or what part of them is still in me, my parents never made good decisions around money. Like, they were like not big savers. And so for a long time, I knew how to spend money. I was not the biggest saver. And so it took me some time to learn how to be different. And it really is hard because I think that one of the values I kind of learned from them in some ways is that, like, you can spend it because you'll make it again. Like, oh, it's just money. Like, you'll get it again. And then one day I was like, oh yeah, but then I was like, but wait, what if I don't? Like, maybe you got to start thinking about things a little differently. And so I realized how, like, that value stuck with me until I realized that it no longer served me, and I had to let it go, and I had to be different for Ednesha, and I could no longer be like, that was what they taught me, but I had to sit that down and I had to figure out what was then best for me. So I think that that's interesting how that happens, that those values that were instilled in us, one day we realize that they no longer serve us. And that's when we kind of start to make that switch. And I think that that's kind of when real adulthood and adulting starts, is when you kind of let go of the values that were instilled in you if they don't work for you, and then figure out what actually works for you. So I think that that is kind of been an important piece for me as I've become an adult, is figuring out like what has been instilled in me and modeled for me but doesn't work for me anymore. And how do I let go of that? And I know that that took a lot of work and therapy for me to be able to do that, because my mom says yes to everything. And I didn't know nothing about boundaries. And so I had to learn how to say no around my time and my energy. And it was a good thing, but it did take a lot of time to say no to actually my family, because those people you always want to say yes to for whatever reason, because you conditioned to say yes to them. I've learned how to say no. They didn't like it. I just used to blame it on my therapist. I was like, but my therapist told me I can't. So like, what you want me to do? It ain't me. Now I can sit in I can sit in my shit and be like, no, I said no. Like, it's me. It ain't the therapist no more. It's Ednesha. So I think that that's a pretty cool change for me.
Some of the things that we've gone through in our families, sometimes we don't always want to talk about it. And sometimes it's not something that you're ready to address because that's why people have a lot of unresolved trauma, things that just happened in your family or things that were done or things that were said. And getting to that place, I think for you, Ednesha, has been a really good thing because, you still have to live with these people and you have to learn how to manage them, and they change as they get older based on, certain things they've experienced, and you change. And, how do you change together to be a healthier community or family? And that's hard sometimes for people who don't want to change, because you go to therapy and other people don't, and you still have to deal with their problems that they may be okay putting onto you.
And that's why most people go to therapy, to deal with the people in their life that don't go to therapy. That's it. It's okay. I realized it. My clients, I'm helping them realize it too. Like, they're not going to change. You have to change. And then you have to figure out how to have a different relationship with them now. So for you guys, are there any tools that you would give the audience that you've seen, like as far as your origin story and how to kind of deal with the values and the things that were modeled for you, and how do you handle it today?
For me, I would say I try to sit and look at it through the lens of one, like, understanding, okay, this was done or this happened because people were still learning things, right? Like my parents were young when they had us. I was the firstborn. I'm a test child, right? So you get to be the crash test dummy when you're the first one. So they were doing everything that they could to ensure that I would be successful. They were doing everything that they could to make sure that, I was safe and healthy and happy. Now, did it always translate as that? I mean, we probably have two different versions of that, right? Like the parents' view is like, yes, like this is what happened. My view may not necessarily be that. But when I see those things come up, or like I see them playing out in different areas of my life, it's like, okay, you have to, now you're aware of what it was. You got to look at it and you got to see where you can apply it. And if it's like, okay, this is no longer useful for me to either hold on to this space of feeling resentment or what have you, then you try to let go of it. But I do try to at least apply it and use it in everyday life. Like even the other day, I was talking with one of my parents and her student had 9 teeth pulled.
Ooh.
Yeah. I had 8 teeth pulled when I was in middle school. So one, I felt for the student because I was like, oh, she's gonna be tight because she ain't gonna have no teeth in her mouth when she wake up. That's one. Two, as a parent, I remember my dad saying, because I remember my dad, like I used to, he's my dad. So I'm like, oh, like, he doesn't have feelings and emotions. He's a dad. Like that's just what they are. But I remember him telling me, like, he always felt so terrible taking me to the dentist. My mom would not take us to the dentist because she was like, I can't do it. So my dad was like, I always felt so guilty. So when I was talking to that parent, I asked her, I said, how are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
She was like, what do you mean? And I was just like, my dad told me, like, when he took us to the dentist, he always just feels so guilty. I was like, are you okay? And she was like, oh my God, thank you so much for asking. I feel like such a terrible parent. And I feel so bad because she looks so helpless and I can't do anything. And I was like, she's like, I think she's mad at me. I was like, she's not mad at you. I was like, first of all, she doesn't want to have a jacked up, mouth. Like, don't nobody want to be the ugly little girl with bad teeth. So that's one. Two, like, you're doing what you can and you did your best. So like, be okay with that and she will appreciate you. And she was just like, I'm so happy that you said that. Like, thank you. And I was like, oh, look at me using life experience to help someone else. But that little girl gonna be tight because she ain't gonna have no teeth for a long time in her mouth.
She's gonna be like, y'all couldn't save them. Like, y'all had to pull them. Y'all couldn't save it. No, like for real.
9 at one time. And I felt that because I had 8. I had my 4 front teeth and I think I had my 4 bottom teeth. So
that's hard for the streets when you don't have teeth. I got glasses and braces all at the same time when I was 8 years old because I had a cyst in my mouth and I had to get my teeth pulled. So it was a whole new ball game for me. Like, wow. And that was the time when the movie Nerds was out. So, it wasn't
braces
good.
At 23. I was in the club with braces, Kim. You ain't saying nothing, okay? I was trying to pick up with braces.
You like, holla.
I used to have the rubber bands on the side, and when I would go out to the club, I would take them out because I was like, that's just too much. I can't be talking to people with the rubber bands on the side.
Definitely not. And rubber bands will definitely pop you in the mouth if you get too excited. I had braces my junior year. I got out easy. I had braces from junior summer to the beginning of senior year. So it was a real quick in and out. So I was real cute for my senior pictures. But yes, the rubber bands, girl, will definitely pop you in the face.
Let's go back to decision making. I'm like, Mom, why did I have to pay for my own braces? Y'all didn't know I needed them. Y'all saw my teeth. How did y'all not know that this would have been beneficial for me? Huh? Y'all was doing everything else around here, but nobody was working on my smile.
Nah, you was good. You had that.
I paid my own little money. My first job out of college, paying for braces.
But look at your teeth now, girl. Go ahead and smile. They can't even see you smiling. That's a shame.
I've had braces and Invisalign. I'm addicted to teeth. Like I am like obsessed with my teeth.
Same. Also, as well, I'm into the white strips. People are like, your teeth are so white. Yes, girl, because who wants dingy teeth? You remember that Crest commercial when that girl was like, the lady was like, what color are my teeth? And they were like, a crew, mother of pearl. You're not about to catch me slipping. No, no. Mm-mm.
We have bought into that though, because your teeth are not supposed to be this white. Like natural enamel is not like blinding white. That's marketing. Let's be very clear. We are all victims of it because I do it too. So
Well,
yeah.
we got good teeth around here, Black Woman Be Ho.
That's right.
Somebody's going to
Floss.
sponsor
Make sure
us.
you floss. I need people to floss. That's the problem. You can't just brush and apply strips. You gotta floss.
Right.
I had a
That's
whole deep cleaning recently. Listen, my
that's
teeth was
it.
hurting.
Do your thing. Oh, we're not even gonna talk about your dental issues. I was so
Whoop.
nervous. Like Kim, do not be the third one. Everything happens in threes. First it was Ednesha, then it was Marquia. I was like,
Oof,
I'm next. I can't.
oof. And I was a whole woman down, y'all. Wisdom teeth of the
Yes,
devil. Let me just say that right now.
that's it. But yeah, let's get back to tools. Ednesha, what are some tools you could give the audience?
Okay, so I guess my first thought is just kind of accept like whatever emotions or feelings that you have about that person that you're in the relationship with, right? Like, so if it's a mother, father, siblings, whatever relationship and whatever it brings up for you. So if it's sadness, anxiety, anger, stress, whatever it is, I think you have to name it and you have to be okay with it. And then I just want you to figure out what relationship you want to have with that person, right? Figure out how do you set and maintain boundaries with that person and be compassionate. We've talked about compassion, right? Because they did the best that they could, right? When they imparted these things on you, maybe they didn't know that they could have been better. So have some compassion for them. And then also have some compassion for you if you downright kind of mad at them now and feeling like they could have did better. But like name the emotion, sit with the emotion, and now figure out like what kind of relationship can I have with you? What am I comfortable with now? And if it's a close relationship, it may not be as close anymore because that may not be what you want anymore. And I think that just allowing yourself to make whatever decision is feels best for you is really important. Because when it comes to family, sometimes you feel like you don't have an option. And I think that people should know that they always have an option. So just pay attention to what the feeling is, sit with it, deal with it, and figure out what kind of relationship you can have with that person. I think for me, that's really important.
I'm going to make a suggestion that people go to therapy because
Well, you know,
I know, but I know you're the therapist, but I needed something. I'm like, damn, they took my stuff, so let me say something. Golly, this is why people who go to therapy. I don't go to therapy, and I don't have all of the tools. But I think going to therapy would be a great way for people to process this stuff because we don't know how to deal with it, and we don't know how to deal with maybe some fear that we have around hurting people or ruining the family or being that person that people don't like. And so I think definitely talking to someone who can give you those tools would just be very helpful for you to go out and explore because people who don't go to therapy, they certainly don't have it. So, I would say go see a professional who can help you with that because we don't have anything in our toolkit. No one's taught us that.
Definitely with second therapy. I'm a person that is in therapy, and it is really helpful, if nothing else, just to have that space to have someone to listen to your side and not try to tell you, well, that's not what they really meant, or that's not what you know how family gets, y'all. It's great to just have that person to listen to you and be like, okay, so like, what do you want to do about that? Like, how do you want to move forward? How can I help you to get to a space where you can move forward? So Kim, you are absolutely right on that.
And I'm looking for a therapist. It's hard to find one though. They're
You,
busy and booked right now. They
you want
are
my
booked
office?
and
I can send you my
busy.
office. I can
Well,
definitely
let me
send
tell you something. I have to shout out to the Black therapists. We are booked, busy, and blessed right now, honey. But we only make up like 8 to 10%, of all therapists. So, it's still a very small number when you are looking for a Black therapist. But Kim, I'll definitely help you find somebody. I know all the places to look, so
you.
I'll definitely help you
Everybody's
find it.
busy though. I've been reaching out and it's like, okay, you know what? I'm good. Sometimes that gets a little annoying. It's just like, okay, I'll pick it up when I can because now I'm annoyed. Like, again, the patience thing. I want this now. What do you mean I have to wait?
Okay, Veruca Salt.
Okay, instant gratification.
That's why I'm working on my patience. Okay.
So is this the end, guys?
I
Are we
think
about to yeah, I think we've said enough today. How y'all feeling about ending here?
I'm feeling good.
I'm feeling okay. We done told some stuff about ourselves. Hopefully
Right.
people see it. If they don't, that's okay. We did some truth telling today, and that's all right.
We did.
So take us out, Marquia.
So, if you are interested in hearing more from us or getting to know us a little bit better, you can follow us on Facebook at Black Woman Be Whole, or you can follow us on Instagram if you want to slide in our DMs and say hey. That's also at Black Woman Be Whole, where we do our daily posts. We have different topics, so you can definitely, come and see what you're looking for and hang out with us.
I love it. Thank you, Marquia, our brand manager. We want everyone to know how much we love her. She is dope.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
So we will see you guys next time.
All right. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Black Woman Be Whole podcast.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Black Woman Be Whole podcast. If you want to keep up with all things Black Woman Be Whole, you can follow us on Instagram at Black Woman Be Whole. You can find us on Facebook at Black Woman Be Whole. And check out our website where you can find out more about what we're doing. If we're having workshops, you can check out our cool merch and just keep up with what's going on. We hope to see you there soon.